You remember we had a disinformation specialist in America? It was going to be that Nina Jankowicz, and
we almost got to have one.
And she was such a maniac that as soon as it got announced and people found out who she was such a bad face for that, because she was such a partisan hack. She wasn't about figuring out what's true. She was about pushing a political agenda, and it was obvious.
She's also doing Weird Al Yankovic's thing, not as good.
Oh, right.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So BBC has also now they've hired their own disinformation and social media correspondent. Technically, aren't all BBC reporters misinformation correspondents?
Yeah, no kidding.
Technically.
Did you hire a reporter? That would be news.
That would be. By the way, this was announced last August, so this isn't a new story, but I wanted to cover it because I have a great clip of Glenn Greenwald talking about these people.
I thought they had a pageant and they decided she was misinformation.
How does one become a fact checker? What distinguishes an ordinary reporter from a sacred fact checker? The same thing that qualifies someone to be an online safety expert. Absolutely nothing. It's a fraud, a scam, an invented title which media outlets have decided that they and they alone are empowered to bestow. Now, the worst and most blatant example of this fraud is the emergence of the utterly fraudulent industry of so-called disinformation experts and misinformation reporters. I'm sure you remember that deranged #resistance fanatic whom the Department of Homeland Security wanted to anoint as disinformation czar, Nina Yankovich, a power grab by the U.S. government that was a bridge too far even for our censorship-happy political culture. Watching the U.S. security state openly arrogate into itself the power to decree what is true and false so that big tech monopolies can determine which viewpoints are and are not permitted is something that still, thankfully, makes many Americans recoil, at least for now. But all of that was justified based on the claim that this preposterous online Democratic Party activist had somehow merited the title disinformation expert. Like online safety expert, what does that even mean? The term disinformation is just a newly concocted term for lies. Nobody is more or less qualified to dictate what counts as a lie. But if you can convince the public that this is a real expertise, then you can justify censorship as the byproduct, not of what it always is and has always been and still is, namely the desire by those in power to prohibit any deviation from their decrees, but you can depict it as something that has been determined through a rigidly scientific and steadfastly non-political process made by people who have an expertise that you lack.
So that was really well said. Well done. That's like, I wish I could talk like that. But so, by the way, Glenn, you just got yourself on the disinformers list, okay? Hope you're happy. So they promoted this woman, Marianna Spring, to the role of disinformation and social media correspondent. This is the first person to have this job.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the first of its kind at the news platform, Kurt. Prior to this, she was a specialist disinformation and social media reporter at BBC News and BBC World Service since 2020. She announced her promotion on Twitter, where she confirmed she will be investigating the real-world consequences of online disinformation and trolling on social media with new podcasts and more in the pipeline. So prior to this, she was basically just on Twitter a lot.
That's social media correspondent? I am too.
So am I. I'm a social media correspondent, and I'm a disinformation expert. We debunk the corporate media here every time we do a show. We're misinformation experts. We are conspiracy analysts.
Do you think when they say more in the pipeline, they're talking about the Nord Stream pipeline?
Oh, baby, that's what they're talking about. But I swear to God, I trust Crystal Ball to sort through information more than I trust this person.
At least she's like in her mid-30s. It kind of not a. It looks like some punk out of high school.
Come on, here she is. Nothing says information expert like someone in their 20s. Delighted I've been promoted from reporter and now the BBC's first disinformation and social media correspondent, which has absolutely zero qualifications to be that person. They just said she should be.
The last job I heard that sounded kind of like that was Taylor Lorenz.
Yeah.
That's the last.
That's right.
And she's probably more of an expert than this chick. She sucks.
She's going to keep investigating real-world consequences of online disinformation, trolling, and that's bad on social, and all that's bad on social media. Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Not even for trolling, but if they trolled her,
are there that many people sitting around still clutching their pearls about stuff on social media? The answer is yes.
Well, they hope you will.
Yes. By the way, here she is. She gave a little. This is her announcing her new program. So it's just lights. It's just smoke and mirrors.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need somebody with the gravitas of Brian Seltzer.
So what it makes it a show, just her in front of a bunch of like screens, flat screens with graphics and bright lights and pretty camera angles. That's a show. That's it. Just her talking about stupid shit.
Let me hear her in her dumb accent.
Okay, here we go.
To BBC Verify, like you said, we are a team of investigative journalists here at the BBC. We are also a new brand.
So they're BBC Verify. What we need is someone to verify the shit BBC says, not the other way around. Not the other way around.
I would trust the word of any Spice Girl over this.
And we are a physical location above the newsroom in London.
So she's better than the news. She's above the newsroom.
Yeah.
She's above it, Kurt. Wow.
And the point of the team, as you said, is to verify video, to fact check, to counter disinformation, and to analyse really complex stories so we can get to the truth of what's going on. Why does this matter? Well, mistruths can cause really serious harm.
Boy. Mistruths can cause... They're protecting you and your baby. They're protecting you and your baby from mistruths.
Can we verify real quick that if mistruths is a word?
How about we verify that first?
And to the people in them. And so we want to show you our workings and really help you understand how we get to the bottom of what's happening. And I'm going to give you a bit of a flavour of the kind of work.
Could you do that with the Ukraine war? How did BBC get to the bottom of what's happening in Ukraine? Because you didn't.
It's a mistruth, isn't it?
So that's why this is hilarious. They're not going to tell you that. They won't even. Are they going to even tell you the truth about Julian Assange at the BBC? I'm going to guess not.
Oh.
They certainly aren't going to tell you the truth about China, and I know they're not telling you the truth about Ukraine. So that's what makes all this hilarious.
I bet Posh Spice would have more intelligent analysis.
That the team are doing. So we're able to look at maps to geolocate.
Oh my God, she can look at a map. She knows how to use a Google map. I'm not even doing the accent right. I can't do accents.
Specific situations, stuff that's going on. This is just a map.
Stuff is going on.
So if stuff is going on, she has access to a map. She has access to a Google map, you guys. Okay. When I say guys, I mean gals.
Verify where you are.
Central London, where we are now. And this is New Broadcasting House, where I'm speaking to you from.
Okay.
And
wow, that's amazing.
So her story checks out. She is there.
She is there. Story checks out. Okay, we can verify. It's all verified. Why the F did they just do that? Why did they show me a Google map of the building they're in? Why? To show that she can use a Google map.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess to show she can tell the truth?
I guess so.
Perhaps for the centre of London, but it is when we're analysing war zones or what's happening in hard-to-reach places. And there's a story on the BBC website today. It's looking at Russian fortifications on the front lines in Ukraine, and you can read more about it there. And there are other ways that we also are able to interrogate what's going on, including on social media. I have some undercover accounts that I've set up.
That wasn't an example of anything, by the way.
That wasn't an example of anything.
Wait, she has...
Look, here's a story we're covering. How are you making sure it's truthful?
We could see a map of Ukraine.
Because we have
I went undercover. Look at her undercover. I'm Brittany, populist right, 50 years old. Do you see she went undercover to see what the... I actually can't wait to watch this.
So when she says she's going undercover, that means she's going to start trolling people on social media. That's what she means, right?
She's going to catfish people.
Catfish and troll. Okay.
Undercover.
And we use these kinds of undercover accounts, and these are the characters that the accounts belong to. to be able to really understand polarization online and how what's happening on.
To be able to really understand polarization online, we've participated in polarizing online activities.
What? Why are you polarized? What? WOT.
Social media feeds and what we're being recommended and pushed to us can affect all of us. And they don't offer us a totally exhaustive insight into what's going on, but they can help us understand just how social media works. And then there's also investigating other mistruths and the real world harm they can cause. At the moment, I'm investigating the UK.
It's the mistruths that cause all the harm. And by the way, when she says mistruths, she's not talking about mistruths coming from the government. That's not what she's...
Lies or mistruths. Why? That's not a word.
That's right.
Mistruths. You mean lies?
Lies.
Well, it's called a lie.
But she's not talking about those. She's talking about stuff that comes from people like me and you.
Yeah.
That's what she's talking about. Those are the mistruths that... Really? Was it a lie by a YouTuber that led us into the Iraq war? Was it a lie by a YouTuber that got 5.1 million families kicked out of their house during the economic downturn and Wall Street crash? Was it a YouTuber whose lies got us into Libya, where we take the most successful country in Africa and turn it into a failed state with open slave markets? Was that a YouTuber lie who did that? Was it a YouTuber lie that led to the caging of immigrant kids? Was it a YouTube lie that did that?
Jimmy, we don't know. We have to look into it.
Was it a YouTube lie that led to the 4-year straight Russiagate hoax perpetrated by the FBI on our own people in the United States? Was it a YouTube lie that did it, or was it a government lie? Oh, it was. Hey, how about this Ukraine war? Is it a YouTube lying that got this war going, or was it the government lying? It was the government and the BBC lying. You're the liar, you dummy, and you ought to know it by now.
I just read the thing.
Conspiracy theory movement. I'm trying to understand more about how it's evolved.
The UK conspiracy movement.
Foreign links, funding, conspiracy theory newspaper, alternative media. So it's
is this like a stock
it's not
page
the government.
And they haven't filled in their own content yet? Here's an example of a thing you could do.
Could do.
Yeah.
This is, again, it's not about
alternative media. So this is going to be to pick out anybody that has an audience on your YouTubes or your whatever. And then, yeah.
So if you have a successful independent news show like we do, we are now a competitor to the BBC. And so they would like to discredit anybody who's their competitor and smear them. And that's what this is. Her job is not to tell you the truth, because the BBC's job isn't there to tell you the truth. They're lying to you right now about Ukraine and China and every other goddamn thing.
I mean, they're literally state-run media.
Yeah,
right?
they're literally state-run media.
Like, not in just the corporate way we do.
So...
intensified since the pandemic here in the UK. I'm looking at the alternative media that finds itself at the heart of this movement, and a conspiracy theory newspaper that's a part of that as well. I'm looking at the way that alternative media is funded.
She's looking at all of it, and she can draw arrows with her finger on this flat screen, and that makes it look like she has some special gift.
Oh.
She's looking into She's looking into alternative media, conspiracy theory newspaper. What the hell are you talking about?
And then which one leads to what? Oh, I see.
And then the funding? You mean the funding that comes from the military-industrial complex? You going to look into that funding?
I'm looking at foreign links.
I'm looking at its impact on local communities.
Far-right
I'm looking at its connections with far-right figures, and also its foreign links.
But not far left.
I can't believe how much those arrows...
Just far right. Just far right.
The arrows literally do nothing. Like the guide... I could just read the page with no arrows.
Let me see this. Look at this. This is all so stupid.
Hey,
this is all such nothing.
Show me where you guys are. Get on the map and draw a little thing.
Show me.
Oh, you're in the news building.
June. It's called Marianna in Conspiracy Land, and it will be available on BBC Sounds, Radio 4, asking that question.
I can't wait to watch this.
So they're monetizing.
Oh, Conspiracy Land.
So thank God
wild conspiracies will it be?
Is there a bigger conspiracy than Russiagate? I don't think so.
Collusion. You say collusion. I say...
or a German coup attempt like we saw there ever happen here in the UK. So there's a real range of journalism BBC Verify will be doing, and you'll be able to see it online, on iPlayer, across BBC News, on your televisions and radio, so do look out for it.
On telly.
So do look out for it.
Oh, I am going to now.
Greg Greenwell says, hilarious, this BBC employee resides above the newsroom because she's not just any journalist, but a disinformation correspondent. Somehow qualified to identify disinformation, she adjudicates truth while warning that alternative media is a menace. She even is trained to use Google Maps. Wow. Respect her specialized skill set. Defer to her decrees. I love how the answer to collapsing trust in media is for their human resources department to concoct new fake titles based on fabricated claims of expertise.
That is an HR department. That reeks of HR department, that title.
Yep. And then that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. So,
she comes off better than Nina Jankowicz. I give it to her.
She does come off better than Nina Jankowicz. Yeah.
She didn't break into song halfway through.
Check out my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny, at jimmydore.com. Only $10. Become a premium member. We're going to be on tour in Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, California, Baltimore, Maryland, and San Francisco, California. Plus, did we say Chicago? There's lots of stuff. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. See you there.